Okay, so I listened to the podcast and they were talking about how companies make decisions now versus like 10 years ago. And honestly, it kind of blew my mind. They kept using this phrase from maps to GPS because think about it. Strategy used to be this thing. You would lock a bunch of executives in a room once every 3 months. They would look at spreadsheets from last month and they would be like, all right, team, here's a plan for the next year. And then everyone just followed the plan, whether the world changed or not. And the podcast was basically saying, yeah, that's dead, that model doesn't exist anymore, or if it does, that company is probably struggling. So here's the question they were wrestling with. If we're making decisions constantly now, like daily sprints, real-time data, AI adjusting marketing budgets while we sleep, how do we not lose the plot? Like, how do you stay flexible without just becoming a chaotic mess? And I think this is actually the thing no one talks about enough. Everyone loves the word agile. It sounds cool, it sounds fast, but no one tells you how exhausting it is to constantly pivot. One thing that really stuck with me from the podcast, they said the issues now come from everywhere. Not just the top, the frontline person who talks to customers every day, their insight gets fed directly into strategy now. That's why, and that's really cool. But it also means leaders can't just command anymore. They have to align, they have to take all this noise, data, AI recommendations, feedback from 12 different teams, and somehow find a signal. It's less I'm the boss, do this, and more okay, everyone's pointing in slightly different directions, let's find north together. And then they hit on something I hadn't really considered. They were like, okay, but what about when the world just explodes? Pandemic, sudden trade war, random tariff out of nowhere, a supplier you've used for 10 years just gone. If you build your whole company to be efficient but not resilient, you break. And that's where a lot of organizations are right now. They optimize for speed, but they forgot to build shock absorbers. So the really interesting shift isn't just we make decisions faster, it is that's contingency planning. Boring, dusty, what if the worst happens planning. It's not actually cool inside organizations. Companies are reviewing risk plans quarterly instead of annually. They're treating disruption like it's the weather, not a freak accident. Because honestly, it cannot is the weather now. But here's where I landed, and I think this is part of worth holding on to. The podcast kept coming back to AI, obviously, and yeah, AI is making micro decisions instantly. It's optimizing things human never could, but they made this distinction that I haven't stopped thinking about. AI is the copilot, not the pilot, because AI doesn't know what trust means to your brand in 10 years. It doesn't know which short-term profit feels unethical. It doesn't care about sustainability unless you explicitly program it to. So the human job, the leader, the strategist job isn't being replaced. It's actually more important than ever. It's just different. It's context. It's judgment. It's saying, yeah, the algorithm says do this, but we are not going to. So to answer the question they posed, has Agile transformed strategic decision making? Absolutely, completely, irreversibly. But the organizations that actually win, they are not the ones who pivot fastest. They're the ones who pivot fast and know what they stand for. Speed without direction is just running in circles. Anyway, that was just something I've been thinking about. Bye bye.